Hey tribe, welcome back. We are back in The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. We are in chapter 10, and chapter 10 is called Creation. And like I said before, with this chapter, what this chapter is really about, what I love about this chapter, and the reason why I'm sharing this chapter with you is this chapter answers a very, very important question, a question that most people ask. They ask, well, Chad, why does it take so long to manifest what I want? And then they dive into Neville Goddard and they say, well, when Neville Goddard says, once you accept your assumption is true, then what you want has to come to you. But that question remains there. Like, why does it take so long to manifest what I want? Okay, even if I believe it to be true, what's taking it so long? And this is the main question Neville Goddard answers in this chapter. And this is the main point of this entire chapter. Okay, so other than that, let's dive into this chapter and really figure out what Neville Goddard's point and how Neville Goddard answers, why is it taking so long to manifest what I want? So other than that, let's jump into this. So chapter 10, again, is called Creation. And it starts off, I am God, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, things that are not yet done. Isaiah chapter 46, verse 9 and 10. Creation is finished. Creativeness is the only deeper receptiveness for the entire contents of all time and space, while experienced in a time sequence actually coexist in an infinite and eternal now. In other words, all that you have been or ever will be, in fact, all that mankind ever was and ever will be, exists now. So even with all this, this is kind of deepening the whole philosophy of law of assumption. If creation is finished, is what I say has to happen to me right now, what in the world is taking so long? You know what I mean? And this is the whole concept. And when we dig deeper in this stuff, this is what it means. Your words have power. What I say has to come to me. Okay, that's the whole philosophy here. So let's continue. And the statement that creation is finished means nothing is ever to be created. It is only to be manifested. Wow. Okay, let me change the color here because I got a lot of yellow going on. Let me change this to green. Okay, listen to this. And the statement that creation is finished means nothing ever is to be created. You're not trying to create something. You're not going outside of yourself to seek what you want. Everything is within you. This is what Neville Goddard is saying. But he's taken a step further a little bit. He says, if creation is finished means nothing ever is to be created. Nothing ever is to be seeked outside of yourself. It is only to be manifested. Okay. So what does he mean by this? What is called creativeness is only becoming aware of what already is. You simply become aware of increasing portions of that which already exists. Okay, now this is kind of digging deep, but again, right here, you simply become aware of increasing portions of what already exists. So success, basically, it's almost like saying, like, a lot of people teach, manifesting, law of assumption, law of attraction, becoming that most successful version of you. They teach it, some teach it from a higher consciousness. They teach it from your spiritual being. They don't go into religion or go that deep with it. But if you believe you're a spiritual being, when you came to earth, you have forgotten that you're a spiritual being. You have forgotten the powers that you possess. Okay? So this is kind of what Neville Goddard is saying here. You simply become aware of increasing portions of which already exist. What you have to understand is everything exists inside you. Everything exists in your imagination. Success already exists within you. Abundance already exists within you. Okay, it's you just becoming aware of it. Riches already exist within you. You being a millionaire already exists within you. Everything you desire already exists within you. You're just becoming aware of it. Okay. It's just a different way of explaining it. Let me change this. I've been using green. The fact that you can never be anything that you are not already, or experience anything that not Anything not already existing explains the experience of having an acute feeling of having heard before what is being said, or having met before the person being met for the first time, or having seen before a place or a thing being seen for the first time. The whole of creation exists in you. Listen to this. The whole of creation exists in you. Okay, now he's wording it kind of weird, but it's just what I just said. Everything exists in you. Anything you want is inside you. All the answers that you seek are inside of you. They're not outside of you. Okay? All the answers you're trying to figure out about your life is within you. Make sense? And it is your destiny to become increasingly aware of its infinite wonders and to experience ever greater and grander portions of it. I love that. Let me read this all together here. Then we're kind of getting to the point, the climax and the premise of this whole video. Okay, because remember the whole video was, why does it take so long to manifest? We're almost there. So hang in. The whole of creation exists in you, and it is your destiny to become increasingly aware of its infinite wonders and to experience ever greater and greater portions of it. Okay, if source is inside you, abundance is your birthright, abundance is infinite. And if source is inside you, God is inside you, the Holy Spirit inside you, that means you're endowed with God's power. Okay, what it's saying, your whole purpose on earth is you becoming aware of it and aware of the powers that you possess, because you are very powerful. Okay, we as a human being, human species, are very, very powerful because God, source, is inside of us. It's just us being aware of it. We are a spiritual being, no matter how you want to put it, how you want to say it. We are a spiritual being, but you have forgotten. This is why Neville Goddard, if you listen to Neville Goddard, he always says, you have forgotten the powers you have. You have forgotten that Jesus Christ is inside you. And he also credits this to his grandma. Okay, his grandma, he said that when he was growing up, he was very thankful for his grandma, but his grandma always talked like this. His grandma would always say, when Neville was little, growing up as a teenager, was having a bad day, probably murmuring, complaining, his grandma would say, have you forgotten you are a Goddard? No, you need to talk like that to yourself. Have you forgotten you are a Napier? And you should put your own name to this, your own last name. Because the bottom line is you have forgotten. You have forgotten the powers you possess. You have forgotten that source power is inside you. You have forgotten that Jesus Christ is inside you. You have forgotten, and you need to become aware of it and wake up. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. Now let's move on. I'm getting heated here a little bit. If creation is finished and all events are taking place now, the question that springs naturally in the mind, this is the whole premise of the video, what determines your time track? Why does it take so long? How much time does it take from, I want my assumption, I want my desire, I believe it to be true for me. What's this incubation period? What takes so long for what I want to come into my reality, come into my visible world, come into my 3D world? Okay. So that's what Neville Goddard is really saying. If creation is finished, all I got to do is speak it into existence. It should come to me right away. In a normal sense, that should be true. Okay. So let's reread this and I'll continue on to answer this question. Now, I'm not answering it. Actually, Neville Goddard is answering it. Okay. Kind of in a goofy mood this morning. If creation is finished and all events are taking place now, the question that springs naturally to everybody is what determines the time track? What determines the incubation period? Now let's get to the answer. That is, what determines the events which you encounter? And the answer is your concept of yourself. What does Neville Goddard mean by this? The simple answer, why it takes so long, the incubation period, is your concept of yourself. What does he mean? It's your self-image. It's how you view yourself secretly, what you murmur, complain about yourself. How do you look about yourself? Are you jealous when you see somebody more successful than you? Are you jealous of the person, or do you bless the person? You know what I mean? Like a rich person is going to bless another rich person. A poor person is going to be jealous of another poor person. There's a difference. You understand? So he says the answer is your concept of self, your self-image, how you think about yourself, how you view yourself in all situations in life. Listen, let's continue. Concepts determine the route that attention flows. Here is a good test to prove this fact. Let's highlight this, but this is a test he's talking about. Here is a good test to prove this fact. Assume the feeling and the wish fulfilled and observe the route that your attention flows. You will observe that as long as you remain faithful to your assumption, so long will your attention be confronted with images clearly related to that assumption. Now, we covered this in the last chapter. Remember, what Neville Goddard is saying, let's break this down so you can really understand this. When Neville Goddard says, assume the feeling of wish fulfilled and observe the route of your attention flows. Okay, be aware of your intuition, your gut feelings you have, the actions you take, what you're thinking about. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. When you're in that feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you're inside your imagination, you're acting as if you're wealthy, for example, you're rich, you're a $15 million man, you got $15 million in your account. Okay, observe when you're in your wish fulfilled, observe your actions. Observe it. Observe what you're thinking about. And Neville Goddard says, you will observe that as long as you remain faithful to your assumption, so long as your attention be confronted with images clearly related to your assumption. So what he's saying is there's a direct link to when you're in your whatever you're thinking about, your assumption is true. If you're thinking your assumption is wealthy, you're a millionaire, well, all your intuition and gut feelings are all your actions, all your images in your mind is going to be you a millionaire. But this works. This is a double-edged sword. Okay, remember that. If your assumption and your deep-rooted beliefs that you're in poverty, you're poor, you have a scarcity mindset, well, all your assumptions, all your attentions, all your images will be the same. Okay, it will be lack, scarcity, worry, doubt, and fear, and that's what you produce in your life. There's a direct link. This is what Neville Goddard is trying to explain here.
Really quick here, friends. Do you want a challenge that's going to make every dream of yours come true?
You see, my friends, the issue is when you start trying to live life on your terms, you're doing everything right. See, that's the problem. That's how you feel. You're trying your hardest, but nothing is changing. Now, in the challenge, there's no fluff, there's no hype. It's just real transformation delivered daily. We are going to the core. We are going to the root cause why things are not working for you. All you got to do is go to the description, click see more. Everything will pop up and you will see the 30-day breakthrough challenge. Click the link and it will take you right over to that. And then he gives another example. For example, if you assume that you have a wonderful business, you will notice how in your imagination, your attention is focused on incident after incident relating to that assumption. Friends congratulate you, tell you how lucky you are. Others are envious and critical. From there, your attention goes to larger offices, bigger bank balances, and many other similar related events. Persistence in this assumption will result in actually experiencing, in fact, that which you assumed. Hopefully that makes sense, but I want the link here is Neville Goddard is linking it to your assumption, your desire, what you want, and everything is correlated. He's just saying, pay attention to it. Pay attention to what you're thinking about when you're in your wish fulfilled. Okay. But also what I'm saying is it's a double-edged sword. It works both ways. Okay. Laws of the universe has polar opposites. If there's a positive, there has to be a negative. There's an up, there has to be a down. Okay. It's kind of the concept that you reap what you sow. Okay. You reap what you sow is if you basically sow negative thoughts, well, you reap negative. You understand? If you sow positive thoughts, well, you reap positive. Okay. So it's the same thing with the law of assumption here is what you assume, your assumptions, that's going to be aligned with your images you have in your mind. Those images are going to get bigger and bigger. Then your intuition and gut feelings are linked to those images. The same is true regarding any concept. If your concept of yourself is that you are a failure, you would encounter in your imagination a whole series of incidents in conformance of that concept. So Neville Goddard just basically said that I said. It's a double-edged sword. It works both ways, positive or negative. Thus, it clearly seen how you, okay, let me reread that because I kind of said it kind of weird. Thus, it is clearly seen how you, by your concept of yourself, determines your present, that is, the particular portion of a creation which you now experience, and your future, that is, the particular portion of creation which you will experience. So he's basically coming down to the concept of yourself. Okay, what you really believe about yourself. Okay, now lots of times we call it self-image. That's what Bob Proctor used to call it. He didn't say concept of self, he called it self-image. But it means the same thing. It's what you really think about yourself. Okay, if your assumption is to be rich, do you really believe you can be rich? See, that's the point. Or do you still have scarcity and poverty habits you got to work through? Makes sense. So that's going to be like an inferior concept of yourself, meaning it's going to take a little bit longer for you to manifest those riches. But what I love what Neville Goddard says in all of his lectures is that if you remain faithful, if you remain consistent and persistent with your assumption, it has to come into reality. Neville Goddard was taken a step further, and he's even stated that he's never seen the law of assumption fail. He's never seen it fail. The only way it fails is if you give up, bottom line. Okay, but Neville Goddard said in all his experience, he's never seen it fail if you persist and consist and remain faithful to your assumption. And that, my friends, is the end of the chapter. And of course, if you have questions down below, I'd love to hear your feedback. Love to hear your feedback on this. If this doesn't really make sense to you, ask questions and I'll try my best to help you out, or that I can make other video content to actually answer that question for everybody. That way everybody kind of gets something out of it. But like I said, I really wanted to kind of do this chapter because I really felt this chapter was answering this main question that we have, is what really takes so long. And again, to kind of paraphrase, is the reason why it's taken so long to manifest what you want is your self-image you have about yourself. What's true about you, how you see yourself in every situation. When you're around people more successful than you, do you remain calm and successful, or do you get jealous of the person? Okay. And all Neville is saying, you have to really become aware of your actions, aware of what you're thinking. Okay. Because once you're aware of it, of course you can change it. Of course you can fix it. That's the bottom line. But other than that, tribe, YouTube fam, I will see you in the next video.